In February of 2016, 35 transactions were issued by a group of hackers to transform almost $1 billion from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York accounts belonging to Bangladesh. Capitalizing on weaknesses in the security of the Bangladesh Central Bank, including the possible involvement of some of its employees, perpetrators attempted to steal almost $1 billion. That seems like one of the smartest ways to become a billionaire, although that's illegal and not as easy as you might think. The hackers managed to compromise Bangladesh Bank's computer network, observe how transfers are done, and gain access to the bank's credentials for payment transfers. They analyzed the entire bank and carefully planned their billion-dollar heist months in advance. They used these credentials to authorize 35 requests to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to transfer funds from their account held there to accounts in Sri Lanka and the Philippines. The first 5 requests were granted immediately. $81 million went to an account to the Philippines and $20 million to Sri Lanka. Since the amount was so big, we are talking about $1 billion, remember? Thankfully, the bank decided to hold the remaining $851 million for staff review. But since it was a holiday in New York, they only realized that when they were screwed already by the next day, which was a bit late. By then, the $81 million that went to the Philippines already entered Asian countries' banking system and was deposited in 5 different accounts in RCBC, one of the biggest banks in Asia. The Bangladesh bank tried to inform RCBC to stop the payment, refund the funds as soon as they realized that they are about to lose a fortune. But it was Chinese New Year, which is a non-working holiday in the Philippines, and a swift message from Bangladesh Bank containing the message was received by RCBC only a day later, when the money was already withdrawn from the accounts. And that was not by accident, but a carefully planned heist. This money was laundered through casinos and later transferred to Hong Kong, and that's how more than $80 million magically disappeared. On the other side, the $20 million that was transferred to Sri Lanka that's supposed to be sent to Shakila Foundation and similarly withdrawn and laundered through casinos didn't make it because one of the hackers misspelled foundation in their request to transfer the funds, spelling the word as foundation. The spelling error gained suspicion from Dutch Bank, a routing bank that put the transaction in question to seek confirmation from Bangladesh Bank. Sri Lankan-based Pan Asia Bank initially took notice. They raised a red flag since this transaction was too big for a small country like Sri Lanka. The request was denied and the funds have been recovered by Bangladesh Bank. Something is better than nothing. However, hackers still managed to keep $81 million. A big investigation was launched into this case, and it was concluded that it was most probably North Korean hackers that were directly linked to the state. You can't be a hacker in North Korea unless you work for the government. And it wasn't the first time when North Korea hacked a foreign bank. It's actually one of the common ways of how the country raises cash. In November of 2014, they hacked Sony Pictures. In 2018, they hacked India's Cosmos Bank and stole millions of dollars. North Korea is a unique country. Their economy doesn't work like the rest of the world. Usually, a government relies on taxes or natural resources to function. But North Koreans don't pay taxes because they earn almost nothing, since everyone works for the government and relies on government benefits to survive. In case if you're wondering why, they're still stuck in 20th century and are still under communism. There aren't many private businesses because it's illegal. In fact, all companies are owned by the government, run by the government, and work for the government, except a few foreign ones. North Korea is filled with natural resources. Some estimate that North Korea is sitting on a wealth of deposits. Some went so far that estimated the value of these mineral resources such as gold, copper, graphite, and plenty of rare metals used in smartphone production, for example, up to $10 trillion. But what's the point of having these resources if you don't have the technology to extract them, or even if you do, you can't sell them? They can't trade with the rest of the world due to the sanctions that are imposed by the international community. So they have to rely on other sources of cash, such as robbing foreign banks. You see, North Korean government is like a mafia that has its grip on the entire nation. And how the mafias usually make money? Yes, exactly. Drugs, prostitution, smuggling, counterfeiting, and so on. One of their biggest sources of income is slavery. They export tens of thousands of people to work in Russia, China, Mongolia, and Africa. Of course, these workers get paid, but only a fraction of their salary. The rest goes to the state. In fact, the majority of it. Some reports say that they don't get paid anything often. With 150,000 workers scattered around the world, it became one of the main sources of revenue for the state. Even though North Korea isn't technologically advanced, they still produced weapons that could be used. With all of the conflicts that are happening around the globe, the demand for weapons is always there. They also have hundreds of North Korean restaurants worldwide. It might not seem like a significant source of revenue, but it gives an image that the country is raising money from legal businesses, although people who work there are probably not paid as well. In fact, they have a separate department dealing with such things called Office 39. Its primary focus is to acquire foreign currency, primarily US dollars, for the government. Without the US dollars, you can't trade with the rest of the world. In fact, some estimate that it brings billions of dollars per year or more and involved in activities such as counterfeiting $100 bills, producing large amounts of meth, heroin, and so on. They know that they can't only rely on illegal activities alone, so Room 39 is also responsible to manage the funds from their legal businesses: hotels, gold, zinc mining, agriculture, and fisheries exports. They're believed to run a network of illegal and legal companies that often change the names to avoid sanctions. Companies which used to number up to 120 at some point. Many of the $500 million worth of textile North Korea exports each year have a phony Made in China label attached to them, and the wages of the estimated 150,000 North Korean workers sent abroad to work are reported to have added $500 million to $2 billion a year to Room 39's income. They also have launched a fraudulent insurance company that earned North Korea tens of millions of dollars. When you look at both Koreas, it seems like South was always wealthier, but that was not the case after the Civil War. North Korea surprisingly did better economically. But over the next few decades, it relied heavily on foreign aid that was coming from the Soviets. But in the 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, North Korea was left alone. With international sanctions restricting it to trade with other nations, it didn't have a choice. In the age of globalization, the world is simply too connected, and the US dollar is literally playing the role of the gold, and North Korea perfectly understands that. Especially if you have 17 palaces, private islands, and a fleet of hundreds of luxury cars, you always want to have expensive cigars, scotch, and whiskey in your fridge, then you gotta have as many US dollars as possible. Some estimate that his luxury life costs around $600 million a year. But no man rules alone. One man can't build roads, govern the country, enforce the law, or defend the country. The job of the ruler isn't to do everything on his own, but distribute the treasury in a way that your keys to power would do their job and stay loyal to you. So you have to make sure that your keys to power are also living a luxurious life like you do, enjoying all the pleasures the world has to offer. Otherwise, they will replace you with someone else who would satisfy their needs. And those keys to power have rivals beneath them who are ready to replace them if they aren't going to provide them with the exact same lavish lifestyle. So without enough US dollars, the system would entirely break down. And to stay in power in North Korea, you have to make sure that your secret toy is developing fast enough. And that requires a lot of foreign cash, which leaves North Korea with no other option but to keep raising dollars illegally. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and the bell besides it so that the next video will appear right in your homepage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.